All right, welcome back. Let's talk about the coalition in the works. Yesterday, there was a meeting among the people that are putting together this coalition. Atiku Abubakar, Senator David Mark. Atiku Abubakar is the former vice president of Nigeria. Senator David Mark as well. We have Nasser El-Rufai. We saw Uche Secondos, the former PDP national chairman. The list goes on. Sule Lamido as well. You know, the big guns in politics coming together across political lines to say they want to form a coalition and give APC a run for their money in 2027. Well, we have joining us special advisor to the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar Media. Mr. Paul Ibe joins us right now from our Abuja studio. Mr. Ibe, thank you for coming on the program. We appreciate it.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Mr. Ibe, whilst I was here, I got the notice of Senator David Mark's resignation. I don't know whether you're aware of it. And in fact, I'm getting intel that there is going to be a tsunami of defection. In fact, some people are saying that movement is towards the ADC. What do you know? Because your principal is on the seat and you are familiar with this territory. Are we expecting any resignation from your principal? What exactly is going on? Are you aware of David Mark's resignation? Let's begin from the issue of movements before we talk about the coalition.
Well, it's early morning. You know, there is drizzle. It's drizzling here in Abuja, and I just got into the studio. I may not be aware of the resignation of His Excellency David Mark, but what I do know for a fact is that he had been, penciled down as the interim, national chairman, of the agency.
So, from your principal's end, is there any? Because we've seen so many things. The vice presidential, in succession, Peter Obi was a vice presidential candidate in 2019. He's left the party. Ifeanyi Okowa, former governor of Delta State, the vice presidential candidate to your principal, has also left the party. Is there any nuance to the effect that your principal may leave or is going to stick his guns to the PDP?
Well, let's wait and watch. If, Nyesom Wike, the minister of the FCT, can be in the PDP and still be in bed, with the APC, and we can be in PDP and still do coalition, which essentially is a response to the yearnings and aspirations, of Nigeria. That is what they wanted. That is what they want. And indeed, we also did an internal poll. We did a polling which suggested that clearly, to be able to reclaim and rebuild Nigeria, leaders across political divides need to come together. They need to, harmonize their strength, because no matter how beautiful the policies that you have, the ideas that you have, if you don't, you're not able to win an election, you can't be able to implement those policies and, transform the lives of Nigerians.
And so some would say what happened this morning, the announcement of the resignation of former Senate President David Mark, is akin to the Yoruba proverb. I'm going to just say it in English just to save time. The witch died yesterday and the witch cried yesterday and the child died today. So that high point in the communique issued at the end of the coalition meeting that PDP members should embrace the coalition. Is it an invitation to exit the PDP and join the coalition? And are we bound to see more defections from this point?
Well, my sister, the reality is that Nigerians have been dying, and the witch didn't have to cry. And since the advent, the Tinubu administration, Nigerians have been dying in their numbers. The state of insecurity is unprecedented. And look at what happened in Benue, for example. One night, 200 lives snuffed out. And, the president says he was traveling there, and he couldn't get to Yelewata because, according to him, bad roads. But we're also aware of other individuals who were able to get there. The senior pastor of the Dunamis International Gospel Center was in Yelewata to condole with the people, to share essentials, to them. And here we have a president who is prioritizing, travel, traveling elsewhere, charity, they say, begins at home. And if you cannot stop the killings of Nigeria, the least you could have done as the comforter-in-chief, is to go to the place where this tragedy took place and offer those people, a shoulder, to cry on. But he hasn't done that. And this clearly, is indicative, of the character, the signature of this administration, since it came into being, 2 years ago.
Okay, so let's talk about rebuilding Nigeria now. This association of coalition, there are many Nigerians who would ask, why should we trust these politicians that have come together? Some describe them as an association of failed politicians. In fact, Mr. President describes them as political IDPs. So why should we accept this as an association of politicians who have the interests of Nigerians at heart, rather than looking for a vehicle to further their own interests?
Well, it is very unfortunate that this president will prioritize politics over governance. For him, since the end of the election, President Bola Tinubu is the commander-in-chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and not of the APC. And so when he stands, on that platform as the president, he needs to be very careful what he says and how he says it. For example, sweep them, talking about the opposition party. Any society, any democracy that does not have, opposition, it's not a democracy, because there must be choices, to be made. But here we have a president who wants to railroad everybody into the same APC, platform, and, saying things like sweep them. Why can't he, the same energy that he's spending on sweeping the opposition party, on trying to decimate and to destroy them, why can't the same energy be deployed in sweeping, the state of insecurity, in sweeping banditry, in the north, in sweeping, the people who are, involved in the killings, in Benue State, in Plateau, in Zamfara, and elsewhere. And so I thought it was time for governance. I thought this president was going to be focused on making life meaningful, on ensuring that Nigeria, gets away from being the malnourished capital, of the world, adding to the already, capital of poverty. But here we have a president who is weaponizing poverty, ensuring that there is divide and rule, and ensuring that the instruments of state, including the anti-corruption agencies, are being used to hound and to ensure that leaders who have questionable characters, who have who have issues to answer in terms of corruption, are told to go and say no more by getting into the APC. So this is what we've been having, and I think it's unfortunate.
All right, Mr. Aide, let's talk about the angle that the coalition, because right now what we're hearing more is the politics, and of course, everybody who follows politics knows that you have to win an election to execute your own ideas. So it starts with rallying to see how you can unseat the person who is there. But for those of us who are citizens and Nigerians who want to know what alternative ideas they are bringing to the table, which has not really been the bigger conversation, apart from blaming the government on some of its failures. But the reason I say that is because it's the same thing that happened in 2013, 2014, that led to the election in 2015 and to the unseating of President Goodluck Jonathan then. As I said at the beginning, the APC built its campaign and promises to Nigerians based on what they considered to be the failure of the PDP. First, they felt and they said the PDP was very corrupt, that government was truly corrupt. That's how they put it, and you can see what happened during that period. They also talked about the issue of insecurity, relating issues around Chibok girls who are still in captivity, by the way, a lot of them. And then the issue around revamping the economy. Now, 10 years down the line, I don't think any of these have been solved. As a matter of fact, They said the fundamentals are looking in the right direction, but the compounding effect, as we always say, hasn't reached the average citizen. So it looks like we're still where we were in terms of the same set of complaints we have. Another set of politicians have now come to say that same thing you talked about in 2015, that they say they couldn't fix, they have not been able to fix, we can fix it. Why do you think we're going back and forth on the same issue, and what are the alternatives here?
No, we are not. I think the media is also failing in its responsibility. Are you going to hold us responsible for the state of affairs in the country? You should be interrogating, this administration and previous administrations. You spoke about the last 10 years. Atiku Abubakar has not been in government. Peter Obi has not been in government. They have been trying to get in government to have an opportunity. You are aware, of the policies of His Excellency, Peter Obi, about prioritizing productivity over consumption. You are aware of the free market, economy, as espoused by His Excellency Atiku Abubakar. You are aware of, his policy prescriptions. They are available, there. And I think it's still early days because we have a coalition and they're probably trying to, since they're harmonizing their strengths, they will also be harmonizing policies. So it's still early days. But clearly, we know, we know the direction, of these individuals, who are the key leaders, in the coalition and the kind of policies, that they will have in place. And so let us, interrogate, what, Tinubu, in his administration has gone on. That is the important thing, that we have not been talking about, the people that are still here to settle down. They are coming together. Yes, they have adopted, David Mark as the interim national chairman, as the, reports, are suggesting, this morning. But a lot of energy should be focused on interrogating, what is going wrong, and it's simply, the fact that, these guys don't have the competence. They don't have the set skills to be able to do what they have said, they said that they're going to do. And that is why we continue to have, the problems, that we're having. That is why, Nigerians can barely afford to feed. I mean, the fact that, people cannot buy, basic things, milk, egg, the real basic bread and all of that. That is why Nigeria has become the malnourished, capital of the world. It has never been this bad, my brother. I mean, let's focus
Mr. Aide, if I may,
interrogating, this. I'm not holding those who are not in government responsible for the state of play.
Mr. Aide, that's also the responsibility of the opposition. We're doing our job, which is why we hear from all sides. The opposition is supposed to be there to also say, this is the wrong direction and these are the alternatives. So all of us are doing our job. The opposition has to do their work. So you can't blame the media for asking the questions, because if you are saying you have a better idea than the people that are serving, we want to know what those ideas are. So for instance, you mentioned there's going to be a free market economy. This government has also liberalized trade in that sense. They've removed subsidy from like 3 things. Partly electricity, PMS, they've stopped defending the Naira, removing that subsidy. And where they are coming from, according to them, is to the effect that it's going to get worse before it gets better. So we're supposed to, so the compounding effect has not come in yet. So that's why I'm asking, if the liberal policy is what Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is bringing to the table, wouldn't we have been in this same position of get worse before it gets better? That's my question.
Is it getting worse, for those of them in government? Is it getting worse for them? Of course it is not. You cannot ask people to make sacrifices when you're living like an emperor. That is why, for example, it's 3.7 billion naira per kilometer. According to Business Day, Nigerian, reports, ours are the costless roads, being built in Africa, of any country. 3.7 billion. That suggests there's a lot of pop. There's a lot of, these contracts have been padded. So the same thing is, is still going on. You want them, to look at the FCT, for example. You're building roads, very good. You're renovating the International Conference Center. very good. And on the other hand, the staff are protesting. They have not been paid. The schools in the FCT are shut down. And so how does all of this infrastructure development that you make, how does it translate into positive? How does it affect the economy? When the civil servants, who are supposed to be the drivers of all of these laudable things, their welfare is not being prioritized. The schools that their children are supposed to go have been shut down. Probably they will not even be able to write either the junior WAEC or even the WAEC exam itself. So what are we talking about? I mean, there is a bit of a contradiction in all of this. The leadership, the people in government, are getting fat, on our resources, and we are being asked to make sacrifices that is going to be worse before it gets better. No. The primary reason why any government is in power is for the welfare, the security and the welfare of the people. And I mean, those two things they have done abysmally low, as far as security, the welfare of the people. Nigerians are only surviving only by the mercies and the grace of God.
I was hoping that you would answer my initial question directly, Mr. Aide, about, the credentials of those who have formed this coalition. But I didn't quite get it, but I'll ask it in a more direct way, but with specifics as it has to do with your own principle at this time around. First of all, please confirm to us if indeed he's going to be the primary figure, if you like, the adopted presidential candidate or aspirant for the ADC. And as you do that also, the concerns around the need for a southern candidate to complete this next leg of additional 4-year tenure as a balance of power in the polity. And in that mix as well, some say that his refusal to allow the PDP field a southern presidential candidate is responsible for what is happening in the PDP today. So how is that going to affect, the coalition and the need for the coalition to agree on a direction for 2027?
You guys are not helping. You're not helping. You're simply, inadvertently, without knowing it, you're also playing the card, of the ruling party. I mean, the media is tagging it Atiku coalition. It is not Atiku coalition. This is the coalition of opposition parties who are recognized, the challenge, what happened in 2023. That was a divide and rule. And they were, divided so that, Tinubu had his way. They have realized their mistakes. And they are trying to harmonize their strengths by coming together. So it's not the Atiku coalition, it's the coalition of the opposition parties. And we can't be putting the cart before the horse. The coalition is we just woke up, to learn that they have adopted, the ADC, they have an interim national, chairman, and they're going to take it from there. And we can't sit here and begin to talk about who is going to be, the presidential candidate, whether it's going to be the North or whether the South. No, sir. Why are we where we are today? Why we are here, where we are today, is that because we have prioritized, ethnicity and religion, over and above competence. The preoccupation of the coalition right now is to ensure that structures are put in place, to ensure that they organize themselves and prepare the party for a national convention that will throw up, leadership that will run the affairs, of the coalition platform. That is a priority for now. And to be able to begin to, put together their policies, like I said, Atiku Abubakar has policy prescriptions, His Excellency Peter Obi has policy prescriptions and all of that. So they will set up teams that will put all of that together. And I don't think this is the time to be talking about North and South, or East or West. How does that affect the price of bread and of milk and of egg? How has it helped us? How has the Muslim ticket helped us? At this particular point in time, speaking about the Tinubu administration, how has South versus North? No, these are distractions. These are distractions. What should be focused on, right now, is being able to have a leadership a leadership that will, that will mobilize Nigerians for development. A leadership that would, be able to, a leadership that is, that is creative and forward-looking, and not one that is stuck, in the old ways of, of doing things. Those are not the things that we should be talking about now. And yes, talking about His Excellency Atiku Abubakar. Atiku Abubakar comes, into the platform, I mean, with very formidable, resume. A Democrat by excellence, we know the role that he played, during the military dictatorship that led, to the seizure of Intel's, his company, how, he nearly lost his life and the lives of his family, his son, and his children. We know all of that. Atiku Abubakar and other leaders are also once again being called upon to redeem Nigeria. Because what we are having right now is a civilian dictatorship. What we had then, 1996, and the rest of them, that quarter, was a military dictatorship. And these people are probably wearing agbada and suit and all of that, but they are no different from what had, even worse than the military dictatorship. Yes, and you would know that, this coalition will stand to benefit from all of the experiences that it has, that it has over the, over the years. So they are not focused on who will be, the presidential candidate and all of that. No, that's not their priority right now. And let us help them. And so, except we are happy with the state of things. Except we are saying that your thanks, O Israel. I mean, let us all, leave it. And we have a country at the end of the day. I mean, it's looking more like Sudan and Somalia, the way that I'm seeing it. You cannot secure the, the country. You can't secure the lives of people. You can't provide for the people. And so, why should you be in government? And why? So, if Nigerians are yearning for a change, and a change that they will get. Thank you.
And so for those who say your principal threw the PDP into a political crisis after the 2023 presidential election, and he was unable, and since been unable to manage it, and hence there's a big question mark on his leadership ability. How do you defend your principal? No, ma'am.
Atiku Abubakar did not run PDP into a crisis. And let me say it, for the umpteenth time, there's nothing wrong for a leader to present himself for consideration to run the country. Absolutely nothing wrong. And even if he has to do that a dozen times, there's nothing wrong in that. What is wrong is for a leader, someone to present himself, for leadership, is considered, given the opportunity, and is unable to do that job. That is what is wrong. We all know the history of, the last, 2023 election and the rest of it. I mean, it's still playing out. We know of a gentleman called Nyesom Wike, then governor of Rivers State, how he lost out, in an open, competitive primary. The openness was prescribed by his ally, former governor Otom, of Benue State. He lost. On the platform at the national stadium, at the Velodrome, where that election took place, he did say, when he was speaking to the delegates, that he will work with anybody who emerges, as the candidate of the PDP then. He was hoping that it was going to be him. Unfortunately, it was not. Atiku Abubakar emerged as a candidate, and Nyesom Wike went to work, working against his party, and he's still in bed, working with the APC to decimate, to destroy the PDP. And you're holding Atiku Abubakar responsible for the rot and the damage that has been done by a minister of this, of this administration who is supposed to be a member of the PDP, who is working in cahoots with the APC, and some other leaders of the, Atiku Abubakar has been in the background trying to resolve some of these crises. But it is like, the fowl. You see a chicken and, as you're trying to sweep, what it does is to keep, scattering what you have swept. That's what Wike has been doing for the last, 2 years. And I think it is wrong for anybody, especially the media, looking to, trying to, scapegoat, Atiku Abubakar as the one responsible. He was never responsible. Still not responsible for the crisis in the party.
Ms.
He only
Aide,
presented himself for consideration.
Yeah, Ms. Aide, we're totally out of time.
Accepted as a candidate. We lost the election, and Wike is still trying to continue with the same template of 2023.
Yeah, Ms. Aide, thank you for coming on the program. Nobody's blaming anyone. We're just asking questions that resonates with people. So it's not the media looking for a scapegoat. The issues are there for everybody to see. So we're highlighting all of the issues as they come. Mr. Paul Ibe, it's a pleasure having you on the program. And Mr. Paul Ibe is the Special Advisor Media to the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, joining us from our Abuja studio. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program. We appreciate it.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.